Hello and welcome back to the channel. We are back in the studio, although technically we never really left. Oh, by the way, yes, it is a Pittsburgh Steelers Friday. But as I sort of explained in the summer when we started this was going to be an evolving thing. We were going to try some new things out to try and see how to make the best out of this channel, how to make it a success. That's why, just for purposes of ease, I went to recording off a phone um, rather than with the whole setup with the back of the microphone like we are now. But after my wife bought me this lovely backdrop, and perhaps more sentimentally, this lovely mug as well. We decided we want to go back to studio sessions, as it were, to make this content. So that's where we are. And with that being said, let's move on to where we usually like to go to on a Friday, and that is previewing the Pittsburgh Steelers and their game this weekend against the Baltimore Ravens. And as we usually do, we shall start with the injury reports, which let's just say it is it's a very lopsided. It's a very lopsided affair. So for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Trenton Thompson is questionable with a neck injury. Minka Fitzpatrick is questionable with a knee, and Landon Roberts is questionable with a pectoral injury. Now, given the state of play for the Pittsburgh season where they are, I would expect them all to play some part. Um, whether or not they end up playing the full game or whether or not they region, we'll have to wait and see. But especially with Landon Roberts making the point this during the week that he expects to play and he will be playing this Saturday, expect them all to be playing some part. Now for the Baltimore Ravens, and at this point, I really do need to take a bit of a swig because this is going to be a long one. Right. Zay Flowers, doubtful. Carl Hamilton, questionable. Malik Harrison, out. Marlon Humphrey, out. Arthur Black, questionable. Brandon Stevens, questionable. Darren Worley, out. Kevin Zeitler, out. Odell Beckham Jr., out. Ronald Darby, questionable. Lamar Jackson, out. Tyler Wallace, questionable. Ardarius Washington, questionable. Now, obviously, when the Steelers and on their list, their list is questionable, you would expect them to play. For the Ravens, I would probably lean more towards they won't be playing, or at the very least, they may play one series or one quarter and then be brought out because. And I've never quite managed to come up with a fall on one side or the other with the whole rest versus rust for a team like the number one seed with the 3 week gap that they would have, from week 17 to week 18, they didn't play. Then the wild card round, they didn't play. Then it's 3 weeks before they get into any sort of competitive game action where quite you fall balance of it, which is why, someone like Lamar, I personally would have thought maybe they would have again played him for a series, played for a quarter, a bit like a preseason game, just to keep him in match shape or as much as they could in match shape, and then bring him out and go with the backups. I personally think that's where you should go, but I can understand, especially with someone like Lamar Jackson and how injury prone he's been in the past 2 Decembers, why you would want to take him out. So again, I'm not the one making the decisions. That's obviously where the Baltimore Ravens feel they want to be, and that's where they're going to go. So expect a smaller, not necessarily smaller, but uh, less than less than less than less than full strength. There we go. Less than full strength Baltimore Ravens side for the Steelers to play. Now, obviously, we are going into this game with a lot more at stake. The Ravens have locked up the number one seed. That's why they're resting people. We are in I was going to say even a win and in situation, but it's not even winning in. It's not even a win and possibly get in because there is one scenario that we could lose and still make it in if results happen to go our way. But we won't think about that because I want to sort of my preview for this. I want to talk about winning, and if we at least win, what does that mean? Now, in this scenario, let's just say we win, but we don't make it through. Say the Bills manage to beat the Dolphins. That takes us out of the equation. And the Jaguars beat the whoever the Jaguars are playing. Takes us out of the equation, but we still win. I don't think that's necessarily something to be down on because it's still a win and it's still an emphatic victory away against an AFC North rival. But for the main part, I want to go back to a conversation I had last season with a local reporter here, Dejan Kovakovic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. And it was in the aftermath of TJ Watt's injury in week one against the Bengals. And it was around the time of the bye week when it looked like the Steelers season was pretty much over. And I sort of raised the question to him on his side. Why should we be looking to bring back TJ Watt? I was playing devil's advocate at this point, by the way, but it was just to sort of gauge a conversation. Why should we be looking to bring back TJ Watt and maybe risk re injuring him and then have that roll into the off season? Maybe he has to rehab and then that slows down his preseason workout and then he's slow to come at the start of the following season, so on and so forth. And he sort of responded with, "You want to bring him back because you want to have like a winning mentality." I can't remember his words exactly, but it's because you want to breed a winning culture around the side. And having someone like TJ Watt, who, you know, we know what TJ, we know what TJ Watt is. Having someone like him around and having the mentality of always wanting to play 100% and not tanking sort of gives you a bit of a guideline for what you want the culture to be. And that's kind of where I am at this game against the Ravens. That even if we win, I want to come out of it with a level of confidence for next season. Similar to as I was talking in preseason about what I wanted from that, I believe was the final preseason game, was I want to know exactly what our offensive line is, who our middle linebacking duo is, who's number one running back between Najee Harris and Jalen Warren. That's sort of what I want from this weekend. I want to come out of this weekend confident that, well, not this weekend, but this game, because whatever happens Sunday. But coming out of Saturday, so at 8 o'clock when the game finishes, knowing, okay, we have a great receiving core with, maybe Calvin Austin goes on for a good game. Okay, he can be a great number three option behind Deontay Johnson and George Pickens. Say Darnell Washington has a good game. Okay, right. If Pat Farrar moves out, he can move to number one. A level of confidence there. The offensive line, if they have a great game, don't allow any sacks, and help the running back set up a great run game. Then oh no, okay, then that's what we'll go with next season. Dan Moore, Isaac Malu, Mason Cole. Well, Mason Cole a little bit thing on. I think centre should be our number one priority in the draft. But again, if he gives us confidence, then maybe we can address something else. But Mason Cole at centre, James Daniels at right guard, and Broderick Jones at right tackle. If we can come out of that and say, good, that's our offensive line for next year, let's go with it. There are a couple of pieces where obviously you need to be a little bit more open minded to, like the middle linebacker position. I don't think Miles Jack, for instance, who's been promoted and what have you, off the practice squad and come off the streets. I don't think he's going to be back next season. The fact that he was retired for this long, and I he's coming and filled a need. I personally don't think he's coming back next year. So maybe Quan Alexander's going to fill that spot. But you get the sense of where I'm going for is right next year. What does this team look like? And does this team give me confidence that we can turn things around next season? A bit like last season in a way, when we went 7-2 down the stretch, when the running game started to take off, when we saw contributions from the likes of Connor Haywood, for instance, that gave me confidence and sort of was the starting point for my confidence heading into again this past preseason and then the preseason and we think so. That's really what I want, is to come out of the game with, right, this team can do something. If we go in and we stink the place up against a bad Raven, against a not a bad Ravens team, but a weakened Ravens team, then that's going to leave me, asking questions. Maybe not necessarily about Mike Tomlin, but it's going to leave me think, right, if Mason Rudolph has a bad game, does that mean, oh, the last 2 weeks were a flash in the pan and we need to find another backup quarterback, especially because I don't want to go back to Mitch Trubisky. If the wide receivers have a bad game, right, then what does that mean for those positions? We know that there's a bunch of wide receivers coming out of college every year. Do we need to focus on that? Go back to the offensive line. If Mason Cole continues to have bad snaps, then we can go, right, we definitely need to address that. So I just want to come out of this game with confidence. That's it. I don't think that's really too much to ask for. Again, if we win and we don't get in, that's fine. We kind of blew our chances when we lost to the two and excuse me, we blew our chances when we lost to the 2-10 teams earlier in the year, the Arizona Cardinals and the New England Patriots. Now, this is a team that should maybe even be in the in the Ravens situation and maybe have the fifth seed locked up, and then we can rest a couple of players. But we're not, and this is the position we've got ourselves into. So whatever will be, will be. As was it Doris Day who did Que Sera Sera? I think it was. Whoever it was, you know what I mean. So yeah, that's all I really want out of this game. A win would be great for the reasons that I pointed out. But at the same time, a loss, I'm not going to get too downhearted over, especially if it's a competitive loss. Again, a loss. I don't think this team is doing anything in the playoffs. Personally, there's no way that I don't see us competing or being able to keep up with the Dolphins' offense, for instance. There's no way I could see us being able to compete with a full Ravens defense. there's no way I can see us competing with the Kansas City Chiefs on either side of the ball. So if we lose, we lose. Fine. Similar to last season, I didn't think we were going anywhere in the playoffs, even if we did make it. So what bigger? No, not that big a deal. It means I can. It means I can take it easy during wildcard week and whatever, and not have to worry about anything or give me an extra week of stress. But yeah, that's the whole. That's my really all I want for. I was going to say all I want for this Christmas, but Christmas has come and gone. All I want for this weekend is confidence and something to make Pittsburgh Steelers fans believe. I don't really think that's too much to ask. Do you? Let me guys know what you think. You can obviously without doing this, I haven't had a chance to do this, so I will get the plugs in again. Links to all my social media are down in the description. You can like, you can subscribe, you can follow on all those platforms where there will be various other content. The written side of the website will be coming back just whilst I get things back up to speed again now that I got my work authorization and maybe I'll find some free time between applying for jobs and whatever. So there will be content coming back there. But in the meantime, my focus is going to be on the broadcasting side of it. So keep an eye on the socials there. And until next time when I see you, you guys take care. And yeah, let's go. Oh, before I forget, score prediction. I told you I was rusty in doing this. I'm going to go for, especially with Mason Rudolph slinging it a little bit more. I think we'll be able to get a little bit out of that against, again, a weaker Ravens team. So I'm going to go for 23-13 win for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then whatever happens with the results on Sunday, happens with the results on Sunday. And we'll address it from there. But until then, next time, you guys, you can all take care.